But he uses.
We've gotten a seat at the table for you.
Yes, honey.
Little chair. Perfect, perfect.
Thanks, honey.
There we go.
Good. Gotta go get my seat.
Yes, that's important.
Yep.
Works.
If you refresh the page.
Situated is perfectly on the screen. Get a,
Oh,
test.
but they're not burnt, right?
So we are streaming live now. I think most people are on mute, but we ask that when you are going to participate or take part or join along, that you unmute yourself. And we'd love to hear all the voices and all of the folks. So, like with every Seder, people will come and I guess they will go. We would love to welcome you to another COVID Seder. We had, of course, hoped last year that we would only do one Seder on Zoom for our entire existence. And yet here we are for the second Seder with the restrictions from the COVID virus. But we also know that redemption takes time, that the Israelites had 40 Seders before they got to the promised land. And the Jewish people have had millennia of working towards a better and better world. And if each year we can move a little more closely to redemption, we will indeed have made progress. So this year we are thankfully a little bit closer to being together. And when we close out our time tonight, we will say, Bashana Haba'ah Bayachad. Next year, may we be together, and we will be so happy to share, and it will be so meaningful indeed to be in person yet again. And so that is our prayer, and that is our hope. I would like to just at the very beginning, give a thanks to all of you who are here and who are joining us, and all of those out there in the world who will be watching our event on Facebook. We'll follow along, and we will try to get comments as they come in from Facebook and elsewhere as well. A big, big thank you to Rabbi Azrael, who is technical support, who put the entire PowerPoint together for us and will be moving the slides along. A big thank you to all of our participants who will take part. And of course to Bernstein's Fine Catering, who made meals available to those who picked them up. Big thank you to those who went and helped those meals get delivered today. And so once again, it is a cast of thousands. We have given Dr. Marty Jacobs 2 years off now. So we expect that next year he will be able to host in person again, as he had for all the decades before. He had his sabbatical, and next year he's actually going to be cooking for all of us. So we are looking forward to that. Before we begin, I hope I heard a laugh from them. Before we begin our Passover journey, exactly where we are, we sit with our Seder plate, of course, which we will discuss throughout the evening, but I also have a special Seder plate that includes our hand sanitizer for care and compassion amidst the hidden danger, a face mask for protection until all can breathe together safely, a vaccine card, filled out, of course, for science lifting the world on eagle's wings, toilet paper, not only for the first wine spill, but also for the precious things we took for granted. I have a credit card for the food bank so that we can make donations and find a way that all who hunger may indeed come and eat, and a gift card as well, so that the underpaid essential workers who are so often unseen, this is not a good camera, there it is, can be thanked. These are the items which evoke the narrow straits of this COVID year. We remember the hurts and we give thanks for the miracles. Pause at the threshold of tonight's Seder, thankful for everyone whom the plague has passed over. Even as we mourn, we celebrate in gratitude as our festival of liberation begins. And so our Haggadah Shel Pesach now begins.
Chag Sameach, everybody. Happy Passover. We begin with our Kadesh, making today holy. Now in the presence of loved ones and friends on Zoom or in person, before us the emblems of festive rejoicing. We gather for our sacred celebration, our sacred Seder, with the household of Israel, our elders and young ones, linking and bonding the past with the present and the present with the future. We heed once again the divine call to service, living our story that is told for all peoples, whose shining conclusion is yet to unfold. We gather on Zoom to observe Passover, as it is written, "You shall keep the feast of the unleavened breads, for on this very day I brought your hosts out of Egypt. You shall observe this day throughout the generations and practice for all time." On this special night, we are invited to step back. We are invited to step back into the founding of the Jewish nation, the exodus from Egypt. First, we live slavery and indignity, and then we experience once again the exhilarating gift of divine liberation. Our goal this evening is to return to the sources of Jewish values of freedom and justice. Tonight, we commit ourselves anew to God's words. Love the stranger as yourself, for you were once strangers in the land of Egypt.
And so we turn to the kindling of our lights. For those of you who have festival lights, we read from the text, "Happy are those of steadfast faith who still can bless the light of candles shining in the darkness. Rejoice, O earth, in those who keep the way, for there is still song for them within you." May the festival lights we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O God of freedom. And those of you who have those candles, we ask you to kindle them as Mary sings our blessing.
Rabbi Ben, would you do the blessing, please?
Of course. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel yom tov. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy with mitzvot and commands us to kindle these festival lights. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
We turn to the first glass of wine. Maybe you have a big glass, maybe you have a small glass, maybe you've already drank 4 glasses and you're on to number 5. There's no rules, it's Passover. Whatever you might be doing is perfectly acceptable. Our story tells us that in divine ways, with different words, God gave promises of freedom to our people. We recall each of them as now we recall the first, as it is written, "I will free you from the burdens of the Egyptians." Here we are, ready to perform this mitzvah of the first cup of wine, or maybe the 5th, if you did 4 yesterday, and to dedicate it to the whole evening, to telling the stories of miracles and wonders that performed for our ancestors in Egypt, on the night of the 15th of the month of Nisan so long ago. Therefore, we raise our cups and proclaim the holiness of this day of deliverance. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. We praise you, Adonai, ruler of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine. L'chaim.
Time.
I didn't know.
And now we turn to karpas. If you have something that is green, a green leafy vegetable, your parsley, or anything that comes from the earth that is beautiful as a tree, we take it to dip it into salt water. And remember that it was springtime when the Pesach story took place. Spring represents the birth of life and the rebirth of life. And we taste the parsley, which is sweet and about renewal and joy. And we mix it with our salt water, thinking about the freshness of spring, but mixing it and tempering it with the tears of the Israelite slaves. And so this is our moment to take our parsley and to dip it into the salt water. The blessing goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adamah. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, creator of the fruit of the earth, and we taste the wonderful greens dipped in the salt water.
I was just complaining that there wasn't enough salt in my salt water. I didn't realize that that was something that I'd ever complain about. But
we're shedding real tears for you.
We turn now to Yachad. It's a time for sharing. This is the bread of affliction, the poor bread our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in want share in the hope of Passover. As we celebrate here, we join with people everywhere. And this year we celebrate here. Next year in the land of Israel together. Next year, may we all be free. And I'm going to break this, and then I'm going to make Rachel look for it later. And she's probably going to make my dog look for it, who will enjoy it.
So this is the moment that you should hide your afikomen, because later when you reclaim it, whoever finds it gets a prize. If you don't hide it, then everyone will have to go to Rabbi Azrael's house to look for the one he hid, if Wrigley, the dog, doesn't find it first.
That's exactly right. Or, you know, if we move here soon, Rabbi Chesson, to a new home, then we'll leave it for whoever buys our home from us. And who knows when that will happen.
They will say, what drywall did these people use?
It's an old home, so it is plaster walls. What can I say?
We are so blessed tonight to have a wonderful family to do our 4 questions. We have the Beckers and the Gilberts and Ava Bressler, who is an adopted Gilbert and an adopted Becker, who are going to do the 4 questions. And our best news is that they are all in one house at one table. So we are looking forward to them launching into it. We hope that that family will just chime right in. They will be doing them in Hebrew and English. So they need to unmute themselves, though. I bet they don't know that.
We all do them one.
Yes, we do.
You're the team.
All right, you guys want to start?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Manishana halayla hazeh mikol halelot mikol halelot shebechol halelot anu kamei tumata halayla hazeh
Halayla hazeh kulata Halayla hazeh kulata Shebechu halilot anu clean she'ar yirakot she'ar yirakut. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh, maror, maror.
Debechol halelot. Ein anim mabilin afilu pa'am echad. Afilu pa'am echad. Halayla hazeh, shetefe amim. Halayla hazeh, shetefe amim. Shebechol halelot, anu achlin, ben yoshvinu, ben nesubim, ben yoshvinu, ben nesubim. Halayla hazeh, kulanu mesubim.
Oh wait, we're supposed to do the English.
Oh, you're supposed to do it. Sorry.
Ready? That's okay.
Okay, my turn.
Here, Zeke, you can do this part. Zeke, come up to the speaker. Ready?
Why is this night different? You can put me down.
Oh, okay.
Why is this night different from all other nights?
You can take
Okay.
turns.
On all other nights, we eat either leavened bread or matzah. On this night, we eat only matzah.
Avi, are you gonna participate?
On all other nights, we eat other kinds of vegetables. On this night, we eat maror,
Good. Yeah, good.
bitter herbs.
Good.
On all other nights, we need not dip our vegetables even once. On this night, we dip twice. On all other nights, we eat either sitting upright or reclining. On this night, we all recline.
Just beautiful. Oh. And now we meet our board of directors, the 4 children.
Four times the Torah repeats, and you shall tell your child on that day. From this, our tradition infers that there are 4 different kinds of people. To each we respond in a different manner, according to the question, the situation, and the need. The wise person asks, what are the precepts, laws, and observances that God commanded us? We should explain the observances of Passover thoroughly, the very last one of which is, after the Seder, we do not turn to other kinds of entertainment. It is the wise who want to know the service it is theirs to do.
The wicked person asks, what is this observation to you? Since they said to you and not to us, they reject the essentials of our faith, the unity of God and the commandment of Israel. Thus we respond, it is because of what God did for me when I went forth from Egypt, for me and not from you. For had you been there, you would not have known redemption.
When the simple person asks, what is this? We say, with a mighty arm, God freed us from Egypt, from the house of bondage.
With the one unable to ask, you must begin yourself. As it is written, you shall tell your child, this is because of what God did for me when I went free from Egypt. With one who has no need to know, no will to serve, you must begin yourself to awaken the need to give the will.
And so we turn from the children asking questions, both the adults who are playing children tonight and the children actually doing the 4 questions, to the story of Passover, to Magid.
There are many questions. Now we begin to answer them. Our history moves from slavery to freedom. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and God freed us with a mighty hand. Had not Adonai, our God, delivered our people from Egypt, then we, our children, and our children's children would still be enslaved. Therefore, even if all of us were wise, all of us people of understanding, and all of us learned in Torah, it would still be our obligation to tell the story of the Exodus from Egypt. Moreover, whoever searches deeply into its meaning is considered praiseworthy.
And we begin with our holy texts, which tell the beginning of the story. I took your father Abraham from across the river, and I led him into the land of Canaan. I increased his descendants, and I gave him Isaac. And to Isaac, I gave Jacob. When Jacob and his children went into Egypt, Joseph was already there. Joseph had emerged with power over the land of Egypt. There was famine in all the lands, but in the land of Egypt, there was bread. And Pharaoh said to the Egyptians, "Go to Joseph, whatever he tells you, you shall do." And all the world came to Joseph in Egypt. In Exodus, we learn, after Joseph died and all of his brothers and all that generation, a new king arose over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, "Look, the Israelite people are much too numerous for us. Let us then deal shrewdly with them, lest they increase, and in the event of war, join our enemies in fighting against us and gain ascendancy over the country," a trope we hear in every generation. So they set taskmasters over them with forced labor, and they built garrison cities for Pharaoh. The Egyptians embittered their lives with harsh labor at mortar and bricks and in all sorts of work in the fields. But the more they were oppressed, the more they increased and spread out, so that the Egyptians came to despise and dread the Israelites. So Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, "Every boy that is born shall be thrown into the Nile, but let every girl live." We cried out to Adonai, the God of our ancestors, and God heeded our plight, our misery, and our oppression. At the time the Israelites remained in Egypt, it was 430 years until all the hosts of Adonai departed from the land of Egypt. That same night, God's watch night for the children of Israel throughout all their generations.
He's just waking up when you get in here.
We got no sound, Ben. Ben, no sound. You're muted. Okay.
There once was a time in Egypt land, the Jews were slaves in the deserts, and we cried out for an outstretched hand, "Oh, let my people go."
Soon may our freedom come to bring us liberty, peace, and fun. One day when the Pharaoh's outdone, he'll let my people go.
Brave Moses with his shepherd's rod had heard the mighty voice of God. It said, "Tell Pharaoh clear and strong to let my people go."
Soon may our freedom come to bring us liberty, peace, and fun. One day when the Pharaoh's outdone, he'll let my people go. Oh, what shall we do with the middle matzah? What shall we do with the middle matzah? What shall we do with the middle matzah? Early in the Seder. Hide it away, it's the Afikomen. Hide it away, it's the Afikomen. Hide it away, it's the Afikomen. Early in the Seder. Oy vey, let's get some prizes. Oy vey, let's get some prizes. Oy vey, let's get some prizes later in the Seder. Soon may our freedom come to bring us liberty, peace, and fun. One day when the Pharaoh's outdone, he'll let my people go.
Now Pharaoh's heart was not appeased, no Hebrew slave shall ever go free. But Moses said, "Let's wait and see." The plagues began to grow.
Oy! Soon may our freedom come to bring us liberty, peace, and fun. One day when the Pharaoh's outdone, he'll let my people go. Oh.
Just lean to the left and we'll tell the tale of how
we left Egypt, God split the sea and we walked across with no need for a ship. But first, before we get to that, there's sons and questions for. Just when you think it's almost done, there's 3 hours more. There's 3 hours more. For Pharaoh sent men after us, their lives would soon be lost. And we spill wine drops from our cups, 'cause freedom had a cost. 'Cause freedom had a cost.
So every year we celebrate our freedom with a smile.
With Moses and Ramses too. Yocheved the Levite, the Pharaoh's daughter, and Aaron and Miriam on the Egyptian Nile. Hey lads, the Seder has come with questions asked by the youngest one. We'll sing and have some fun for wonders long ago.
Egyptian firstborn sons were lost. The sea of reeds we firmly crossed. They followed but 'twas at great cost.
They all were dragged below. Hey lads, the Seder is done. We told our tale of redemption. The Shana Haba Yerushalayim. Shana Haba Yerushalayim.
Okay, Peloton, who's ready to work?
Kendall's 30 minutes.
I'm trying to, navigate my own form of plagues by having to deal with multiple computers going on at the same time with multiple screens. Turning up my volume here. So that is, if we were to learn about the 10 plagues of the year 5780 and 5781, I think Zoom fatigue and Zoom muting would be like number 1 or number 2. We turn now to the 10 plagues, our Esher Makot. Our rabbis taught when the Egyptian armies were drowning in the sea, heavily hosts broke out into songs of jubilation. And God silenced them and said, "My creatures are dying, and yet you sing praises." Though we descend from those redeemed from brutal Egypt and have ourselves rejoiced to the sea of oppressors overcome, our triumph is diminished by the slaughter of the foe, as the wine is within the cup of joy is lessened when we pour out 10 drops from the plagues upon Egypt. Each drop of wine we pour out is hope and prayer that the people will cast out plagues and threaten everyone, everywhere they are found. Beginning in our own hearts, we pour 10 drops for the plagues upon Egypt.
And so together we say, Dam, which is blood, Sephardeia, frogs, Kinim, lice, Arov, wild animals, Dever, pestilence, Shechin, boils, Barad, hail, Arbeh, locusts, Choshech, darkness, Makat b'chorot, death of the firstborn. And for everything that is broken, we also have in our tradition a takana, a fix for it. And this has been a time not only of plagues and of disease and of disaster, but also healing, resilience, insight, science, understanding. And so for the plague of blood, we remember that we have comforted and mourned those whose blood has been spilled. For Tzifardea, frogs, we have protested the proliferation of violence. For Kinim, we stop infestations of hatred and fear. For Arov, we appeal to all who act with humanity instead of like wild beasts. For Dever, we overcome the sickness of racism and bigotry. Shechin, we tend to all who suffer from disease. For Barad, we respond to the storms and disasters that have claimed so many lives. For Arbeh, we fill the air with our voices for change. For Hoshech, when there is darkness, we bring light to those who live in shadows. And for that final Makat B'chorot, for the death of the firstborn, we inspire those who come after us, the next generation, to carry on the struggle for a better world.
And so we turn to the words of Dayenu, turning from plagues to understanding the blessings that we have been given by God, and we join Mary in song.
Ilu Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, Dayenu, 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 Dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et hashabat natan lanu et hashabat dayenu 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 Ilu natan lanu et haTorah natan lanu et haTorah dayenu 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 dayenu.
We join together in the words of Dayenu. Had God brought us out of Egypt and not divided the sea for us, Dayenu. Had God divided the sea and not permitted us to cross on dry land,
Dayenu.
Had God permitted us to cross the sea on dry land and not sustained us for 40 years in the desert,
Dayenu.
Had God sustained us for 40 years in the desert and not fed us with manna,
Dayenu.
Had God fed us with manna and not given us the Shabbat,
Dayenu.
Had God given us the Shabbat and not brought us to Mount Sinai,
Dayenu.
Had God brought us to Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah,
Dayenu.
Had God given us the Torah and not led us to the land of Israel,
Dayenu.
And had God led us to the land of Israel and not built the temple,
Dayenu.
And had God built the temple and not sent us prophets of truth,
Dayenu.
Yet God sent us prophets of truth and not made us a holy people,
Dayenu.
Dayenu, 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 Dayenu.
And now we come to what is considered perhaps the central part of every Seder. According to the Mishnah, Rabbi Gamliel said, whoever does not consider well the meaning of the three major symbols, Pesach, Matzah, and Maror, you have not fulfilled the purpose, the mitzvah of the Seder. And so we look first to the Zoroah, the shank bone. What is the meaning of the Pesach, of the Zoroah? In family groups, our people used to eat the Paschal lamb when the temple used to stand. For them, the Pesach was a reminder that God had Pasach, God had passed over the houses of our ancestors in Egypt during redemption. In our days, too, we invoke God as the guardian of all the households of Israel. As in our dwellings, we renew the family bond and strengthen our ties with the entire household of Israel.
And so we turn to the matzah. What is the meaning of this matzah? Of old, matzah was meant to recall the dough prepared by our people had no time to rise before the final act of redemption. As it said, and they baked unleavened cakes of dough since they had been driven out of Egypt and they could not delay, nor had they prepared provisions for themselves. In fact, to the driven of the earth, we link ourselves today as we fulfill the mitzvah. For 7 days you shall eat matzah, that you may remember your departure from Egypt as long as you live. And we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav b'tzivanu achilat matzah. We now turn to the bitter herb, the maror. It was eaten, they said, because Egyptians embittered the lives of our people. As it is written, with hard labor and mortar and brick in all sorts of the work in the field, with all the tasks ruthlessly imposed upon them. Today as well, wherever slavery remains, Jews taste its bitterness. So you can take some of your maror and mix it with the haroset or whatever your tradition might be, and enjoy the mixture of the bitterness and sweetness together. Ooh.
As you enjoy your Hillel sandwiches, we also know B'chol dor v'ador, in every generation, we are to feel as if we ourselves were the ones who went forth from Egypt. It is written, and you shall explain to your child on that day, it is because of what the Eternal did for me when I myself went forth from Egypt. Still, we remember it was we who were slaves, we who were strangers, and therefore we recall these words as well. You shall not oppress the stranger, for you know the feelings of the stranger, having yourselves been strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall love them as you love yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Not only our ancestors alone did the Holy One redeem, but us as well along with them. As it is written, and God freed us from Egypt so as to take us and give us a land sworn to our ancestors. And so we celebrate it as if it is today. Is this mine? Kos Geula, our second cup of wine, reminds us of liberation. As it is written, I will deliver you from their bondage. Remembering with gratitude the redemption of our ancestors from Egypt, rejoicing in the fruits of our struggle for freedom, we look now with hope to the celebrations of a future redemption, the building of a city of peace in which we will rejoice in the service of God, singing together a new song. We praise you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. We praise you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who brings forth the fruit of the vine. L'chaim.
I realized that we had another slide for the actual blessings over all of the Hillel sandwiches and whatnot. I know it's just the biggest gaffe in Zoom world possible. But we'll say them again nonetheless. So if you hadn't yet said the blessing over the matzah, you can take a piece of matzah and break it and share it with your friends and say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. Now you can eat your matzah.
And your Hillel sandwich.
Exactly. So we say the blessing over our maror. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. Enjoy your Hillel sandwich as well.
And you can even add some gefilte fish.
Yes, you're right.
Yum, yum.
Yum, yum.
Since it is the second night, I think it's only appropriate that we do our sandwich twice. Now, normally at this time, we would turn to our festive meal and come back together several hours later, but we are going to turn to the concluding piece of our evening, and therefore we will finish our service, and then you can enjoy your meals at your leisure. So it is a nod to the afikomen that we take at the moment, because this section called Safun is supposed to be the absolute last bite that you have tonight. That means that the afikomen, which means dessert, will be given, and indeed will be the last taste in our teeth as we leave our evening. So rather than the sweetness of cakes and the wonderful candy and desserts that you have, we should indeed have the matzah in our mouths to remember everything that we have discussed tonight. And remember that until we are found, until we are all recovered, until we are all together, indeed, there will be something to search for in the year to come. And so, symbolically, we know our afikomen is there. Rabbi Israel, I think when he went off a moment ago, hit it. So everyone will be starting to head over to the Israel's house so that they can find it before Wrigley the dog finds it. And so we turn to the next piece and hope that at the very end of your evening, you will eat your afikomen. Rabbi Yisrael, your third cup is on you. I'm still on my second.
My 2 cups of wine made it hard for me to control the mouse and unmute myself. So
I always like how the third comes so quickly.
Well, normally, you know, Rabbi Chesson, I would have had the entire meal to sober up before I have to have my third cup of wine.
Oh, better pour some more, everyone. Third cup.
Indeed. We say together, we take up the third cup of wine, now recalling the third divine promise. As it is written, I will redeem you with an outstretched arm. And we say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Enjoy.
And again, following your meal, one of the wonderful festivities is opening the door for Elijah with the prayer that indeed this will be the year that Elijah the prophet will come and will be the forerunner for a year of peace, a year of healing, a year of wholeness. Every year we open the door to all of the possibilities. Last year, we were not together. This year, we are not together. But if Elijah shows up at our Seders, we will enjoy with him and have the hope of peace. We also have a glass of water set aside for Miriam the prophetess, who will bring the quenching of the thirst of our people for hope, for healing, and for peace, so that we will indeed have a better year ahead. And Mary has the beautiful songs that we sing to the prophet Eliyahu Hanavi and Miriam Hanivi'ah.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu. במהרה בימינו יבוא עלינו עם משיח בן דוד, עם משיח בן דוד, מרים הנביאה, עוז וזמרה בידה, מרים תרפוד איתנו, להדיר זמרת עולם, מרים תרפוד איתנו, לתחנת העולם, במהרה בימינו, יהינו, אמן הישועה, אמן הישועה.
And so we turn from the welcoming of our prophets Eliyahu and Miriam to the fourth, the cup of acceptance. If you have yet to pour your fourth cup of wine, I invite you to do so.
I didn't have time to finish my third.
It's an excuse to continue drinking as much as you want. Our trick is to use the little Shabbat shot glasses from our Kiddush pourer thing. That way you can, get the feeling of 4 cups and 4 different pours. We say, as our Seder draws to a close, or at least our time together tonight draws to a close, we take up our cups of wine for the 4th and final blessing, as redemption has not yet been complete. The 4th cup recalls our covenant with the Eternal One to the tasks that still await us as a people called to the service of God. To that great purpose for which the people of Israel lives, the preservation and affirmation of hope. As it is written, and I will take you to be my people. We say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
And here we are, the end of the ritual portion of our evening, but just the beginning of a feast with those who are around us, with those who we love, with our family members, with those with whom we Zoom, with people far and people near. We know that the year to come will be a better year, and we will make it so. And so every year it was the tradition of our ancient people to say, L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, may it be a year that we are together in Jerusalem. We just say, may it be a year that we are together. We look so forward to the day when we can sit side by side and face to face and eat our Seder meal and celebrate all of our festivals and our joys together. And so we have finished with our service, but our hope, our work, and our values continue. We pray for a year of shalom, of peace for us, peace for everyone, peace for all of the world. This indeed is our hope. L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, and Mary will sing us out.
L'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, l'shana haba'ah, l'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim.
Chag Sameach, everybody. Happy Passover. May it be a joyous holiday. And if there's anything that we at Temple Beth Or can do, we look forward to hearing from you. Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Okay, great.